So now we've made it to the last episode, 18 of them. I didn't know it would be, honestly, this involved when we started doing it. I didn't really know how many episodes it would be. I kind of thought they would all be 10 minutes. I didn't realize a couple of things, that I had so many thoughts and feelings about what we were working on. I didn't think we would have the audience that we've had. And look, it's only been about 30 or 40 views per episode, but that felt worth it to me. I also didn't know that as many people who were part of these movies wanted to talk about them. And, we asked a lot of people, some people didn't, and that I think that will always be kind of the burden of what this is that not everybody got it connected. It's such a high stress thing that bridges invariably end up being burned. And, it's something I'm going to have to really be at peace with. I can't go back to everybody I asked and be like, well, why didn't you want to do it? I have to really accept that whatever reasons they have are valid. And, but that's not the note I want to start the episode on. It's been fun to look back, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And, I've been thinking a lot about the movies that influenced me, and how, particularly the John Hughes and the Cameron Crowe, which seem to be the comparisons I got the most. I hope that those influences came across. I never was the filmmaker who set out to say I was going to reinvent anything. First of all, most people that say they're going to do that are morons, and they don't. And well, no one does. I mean, that's the thing, right? I never claim to be a genius. I have met people that I think are geniuses in this industry. I am not one of them. I just tried to make some movies that were intimate, that connected with you. And, and in some ways, I hope the stories and the acting were able to transcend the production values that really came with money. But, I think about particularly the movies we made, John Hughes and Cameron Crowe, and then wanting you to have those feelings that Spielberg made you have. Like, that's my favorite guy. And so, in the movie The Crow was such an important movie to me that hopefully those filmmakers would at least be proud that I was at least trying to walk in those footsteps. Never really achieving what any of them achieved, but I hope that they would at least like knowing that they influenced a kid, when he's 4 or 5 years old, and decided that someday he wanted to entertain people, and still does want to entertain people. But I hope that they would be proud that their legacy at least carried on. And, I feel like I was making these movies in a very weird time, because now it seems like Netflix is making the movies that we were trying to make on no budget because they weren't getting a theatrical release. But, the question that we're going to have to ask ourselves, that I am asking myself now, and that I'm asking myself going forward, is, was it worth it? And there are definitely two extreme answers I could give. And one of the things that I don't want to do on this is lie to myself or delude myself. If you look at movies as what they're supposed to be entertainment, and they're an entertainment product, right? The art versus product thing is a big debate. And I definitely fall on both sides of it, because on the one hand, yes, you have to be artistic. There are artisans that work on them, but it's the only form of art really that you are required to have a bunch of people, a lot more money, and therefore you have to get a return on that investment. So if I look at the worth thing from, profitability, then no, I mean, it wasn't worth it. If I boil it down to those things, and those things can't be diminished, because, we put in, especially at the beginning, a lot of our own capital. We've not broken even. A lot of people contributed money to us because they believed in us following a dream, but we've not been able to make financial we've not been able to be able to pay everybody what they were worth for the time they gave up. And that will always be something that will haunt me. That, I thought what I've learned most is what I didn't know. And I really believed that we were going to be able to connect with an audience. I never thought we were reinventing anything, but I did think we would have the chance to connect with people and find our way to kind of climb up the industry as far as like budgets and things like that. And so we didn't do that. We resisted distribution deals that look good on Facebook. Like newsflash, all the pictures of your movie at Walmart, it's probably not paying you anything. Like you're not making any money off that. And so we weren't going to do that. And so as a result, it doesn't look like we were successful. And so from that angle, I have to say no. If I'm looking at the angle from job satisfaction, and I think throughout the majority of the films we made, well, then I do have to say yes. I was able to put together a team. I like building teams. I like being part of that. And I think we put together several really good, talented teams. And we were able to make things on our own terms. So from that instance, the company was successful. Nathan spoke about this in his interview about, we're able to mark the time of our lives. Some good ones. Watching Jordan grow up on film. Including Braxton's or my grandson's little feet in Chance of Snow, like as a sort of one of the last shots in the film, in fact. And then the worst days of our lives are marked by the films. We can't think about The Cheapest Little One Star and we can't think of wrapping that movie without also realizing and remembering that was the drive home from that movie when we got the call that Jessica's father had died. And that's how timestamps work, right? Like it doesn't always mark the good things, but he was such a big believer in what we were doing. And he treated me like a son in a real way, not like, oh, you just married my daughter way, but he treated me like a son in a way that I've never really been treated before. And he is the most influential man I've ever met in my life. And, if the leap of faith of, this is not a documentary about me and Jessica's marriage, but, I think there were some things about my career choice at the time, being in the military, that didn't vibe with necessarily all of his values. Plus, they didn't know me that well. And then we're going to get married and go across the world, excuse me. None of that mattered. And I'll always remember him being one of the very first cheerleaders for us going our own way and making our own films and shooting out at his house and, teaching me about wine. And I used to not be a wine guy. And when Jessica and I would go over, the idea was working me from whites to reds. And it was just patient and gentle and at the same time strong and smart. But that's what I mean. This company is going to mark the day that we lost him. Jessica and I are very clearly about our love for our dogs, and all of our dogs have been in our movies, and most of them are not here anymore. So we've created a way, bittersweet as they are, to mark the passing of our lives. And so that is a beautiful thing. And I think it is something that we won't forget.
Day 2, take 2. All right, so what does Twitchy Dolphin mean to me? And depending on what all Jim is going to show here, new day, hopefully a little bit more put together. Able to talk about it a little bit better today now, although wearing the same outfit, so hopefully you don't even notice. What does Twitchy Dolphin mean to me? Well, I feel like it came out of it, birthed itself from this unique opportunity that we had when Jim was actually getting out of the Army. And, we were faced with, we knew he wanted to go to university. We knew he wanted to get a degree, but we didn't know necessarily what it was going to be in or what he was going to do. And it's a scary time because you feel like you've had so much security and so much kind of defined for you in the Army. You have a very clear set of rules that you do and rules to follow. And so this was going to be a really crazy, new world for Jim. And at that time in our lives, I felt like we were in our mid-20s. And I just told him I can't imagine that we're going to have another opportunity like this where you really get to kind of redefine what you want to do with your life. And so we decided, not we, he started kind of soul searching and saying, what am I truly passionate about? What do I really want to do? What do I love so much? And so, he said he wanted to study film at University of Texas at Austin, and I was on board. I was actually kind of excited about it. I felt like Jim has a real aptitude for this. I feel like he's a great storyteller. He's got a magnanimous personality. People were really, really drawn to him. And so I was on board. I felt like, yeah, let's do it. I wanted him to find something he loved. My parents' words were ringing in my ear of saying, you're going to be working at your job more hours out of your day than you're going to be at home. So you better make sure you like what you do. And so those words were ringing true for me. I really wanted him to find something he was passionate about. And I felt like film fit that mold. I felt like that was the right place for us to be and the right time for us to be there.
I have met some of the most amazing people. And I really am doing this off the cuff. And so I'm going to try to mention some of the people that I've met, and it's going to offend people because I'm going to accidentally leave somebody off that's important. And I don't mean to. But before we do that though, I want to talk about I want to talk about film festivals for a second, because clearly I run one. Clearly I'm a big believer in them as an industry, even though they are much maligned by people who don't know anything. I record this about 9 days before ARF makes its selections, which means I'm already just bracing for the barrage of hate that we get. But there have been some film festivals that have done more to keep me going than just about anything. I want to thank the Nightmares Film Festival. Jason puts on a perfect festival, and his team is great, but it is a wonderful balance between intimacy and family and those things you get at ARF, with just amazing exhibition and really, really great, and cannot recommend it enough to people. Want to thank, Bare Bones, Oscar and Sharon. That's not the first festival we ever played, but it's the first festival that felt worth playing and made me feel like I was a worthwhile filmmaker and not some cash cow whose job it was to bring people. That's a thing that happens, kids. Crimson Screen, Tommy and Robbie do such an amazing job. Fort Worth Indie Film Showcase, Bill Haas. He and I are simpatico because our festivals are so similar, and he likes to give me credit or blame for the reason he started Fort Worth. And it's such a great festival, and he is one of the best people to do this. And so I can't thank them enough for all of the things that they've done to help promote me and promote our work.
So, when he met Chris Copple at film school, it was kind of like a perfect match. We felt like they clicked. Chris had a great skill set. Jim had a great skill set. And when you put the two of them together, it really produced some awesome content. So, having that opportunity in the very beginning to find somebody he meshed so well with was great. And then as it all started to grow and blossom, it gave us an opportunity to also work with Nathan and Shelly, and being able to have that extra connection to my brother and sister-in-law was awesome. I love them, and I love that they're a part of this. I think so many people refer to Twitchy Dolphin as a family, partly because it was born from a family. It's a husband and a wife and a brother and a sister-in-law, and Chris felt like family to us. Or feels like family to us, even still to this day. I love the guy. And so I think that permeated the whole entire company. And that's why it's so incredibly special to all of us. It feels very close to home. It feels like it's a part of our hearts, if you will. So yeah, it was a great opportunity. We wanted to follow it. We said, let's do this thing. As the company started to grow, or as projects started to come on board, and we started to have these ideas for what we wanted to do, and I say we, but I really mean Chris and Jim. They were the masterminds behind it, which was awesome. Nathan and I kind of got to be more logistical behind the scenes type stuff, but we were a part of it, right? And so that was exciting. And then as it started to grow, seeing our parents get more involved, cousins and aunts and uncles were helping to donate to the films, whether it was craft services and food, sets. We had lots of friends and family who donated their homes as sets for us, which was always one of those things that you think sounds like good in theory, and then you actually get there and you're like, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. But still, at the end of the day, we're incredibly grateful that they did that, because it gave us an opportunity to have different scenes that we wouldn't have necessarily been able to have otherwise. And so, and then, of course, the contributions, the financial contributions that friends have done over time, family members have done over time, and truly just incredible to see all of these peoples from all the different walks of our lives. We had high school friends, we had college friends, we had Army friends, we had family members from all sides contributing to this thing that just felt so cool. And it felt like, I think they could feel Jim's passion. We could all feel Jim's passion, and we truly believed in what it could be.
But this, like any other business, is a business about people. And I want to take a second to thank, look, and I don't even know, I don't know how many people I'm going to mention. I just want to mention some folks who I think it's important for me to get on record that I don't look past the sacrifice that they made. I'm going to start with Andy Tomczeszyn, who would hate that I'm starting with him or mentioning him at all. But Andy is the sort of stand-in name for everybody that contributed to our projects, particularly more than one. Everyone who brought food, everyone who gave up a house. And they never asked for anything, and they never did anything other than be like, this is so cool that you're doing this. And it's something that I think I've learned the most about generosity from those people that have consistently did that. I want to thank Isabella Artaza, Mary Grace Copa, Anna Claire Smith, and Jacob Turner, 4 of the most amazing students I've ever had. The idea that y'all were always excited to come to set and excited about, hey, cool, isn't it that cool that we're making a movie, kept me so motivated that I can't really describe to you what that means. So thank you so much for that energy. I got to thank John English. John was brought so much legitimacy, particularly to our early films, because for as rough as they were, he opened up his catalog, created an original song for us that really made everything seem and feel a bit more legitimate. And when you're beginning this journey, legitimacy is the biggest thing you can ask for. And so thank you for that. Terissa Kelton was in so many ways the face of this company for so long. And one of the first people, I think, to truly believe in what we were trying to do. And I will always have so much love for her. And I love that she's doing so well in LA, because she deserves it. Bella Marco gets her own spot. Another student of mine, probably one of the most impactful relationships I've ever had. A famous, funny story about her is she's so talented and a leader. And she does all of these things that are great with her own sense of self. But, one of the things we have to overcome when we're talented, I don't have this problem because I wasn't all that talented, but she is. And one of the things that you have to overcome with that is complacency. And when she was a sophomore, she turned in a script that was not great. And I took the script, made eye contact with her, and deleted it. And I told her next time not to waste my time or hers. And she reacted correctly. And she realized it was, what she could have also done was hit, Apple Z and say, I stand by my work, and I would have had to respect it. But I will always have so much affection for Bella Marco. Andy, Eli, Tyson, and Mike Williams, Texas Renegade, and their manager. From the beginning, it was always this great mutual collaboration where, we would do videos for them. They would open up their catalog to us. And I mean, at one point, Mikey was even like, do we have to do this whole rights by movie thing? Can I just give you a blanket statement? And those movies, those songs, excuse me, are the soundtrack for our movies. And Andy would go on to do some original stuff as well. But that relationship with those guys and Mike, who also, they all appeared in some movies, and Mike did too. Mike was in a bunch of them. So always one of the most important things. Always one of the most important relationships for me. Janet Mayson, just maybe the best person I know. Heart, smiles, positivity, dogs. Cheryl and Scott, my in-laws. I talked about Larry being so supportive, and Cheryl and Scott were too. And in some ways, maybe their support was tested even more, because I would shoot a lot of stuff at their house, and some of it was weird. We had a scene in Snatch and Grab that involved 2 naked people, a hot tub, and a raw egg. So they're like, roll with it, whatever. So they're always at premieres. They're always at screenings. They've traveled to festivals before. They've been to Muskogee with us. So the support for us, knowing that I was dragging their 2 children down a crazy road, will always be an example of generosity that I'll try to model. Grace! Can't say Grace's name without thinking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Grace is, in some ways, the best producing partner I've had. And it's because she and I don't think about things the same. And I don't mean we disagree, but she has this ability, I think, to be a little less, and this is going to sound terrible, Grace, but somehow I think you'll like it. Sometimes I can be too soft, believe it or not, and give people 3rd, 4th chances. And sometimes Grace is the best person to go to when it's like, nope, we got to cut this off now and move on. And it's because she cares about the project and she cares about me. And I wish I had sometimes I wish I had your moral strength. That's a good way to describe it. Stephanie Dunbar, I feel like, was the first actor I worked with that made the words pop in a way I didn't expect. And as I've said before, and I tell my writing students and directing students, that's the best part. The best part isn't what you did. The best part is, what did somebody do with what you wrote? And if you're looking at this industry the right way, that's how to be successful. I don't think Spielberg hyper manages Tom Hanks. I don't think he does. But Stephanie was one of the first ones where, it just felt like this is how it's supposed to work. And it became the standard for actors that I would work with going forward. Alyssia Rivera is both incredibly talented, and so much more than someone who can cry on cue. She can be funny, she can be light, she has emotional resonance in everything that she does. But she's also an amazing person who's super generous. And I think I'll always take from people like Lish is that you can be both. And generally speaking, the people that are good are both. It doesn't really work. If you're going to be just completely off-putting and a terrible person, you have to be an amazing actor. And I don't think that really is how it works. And so I think we think that's how it works. I think we think they're all divas, but Lish jumped into a film that was an intense shoot for us. And I think one of the biggest regrets I have about not making more movies going forward is I don't get to work with her. Emily Joseph is also, I think, one of the perfect people to work with for me, because she is almost always looking on the bright side of things. Sometimes brighter than I want her to look, right? Like, sometimes I want to be like, listen, it's way more serious than you're giving it credit for, but it's what you need. You can't have everybody kind of riding the same emotional wave. So you need to be able to look at Grace and say there's stability. And then you need to be able to look at Emily and say, no matter what, it's not that bad. And Emily is, it's hard to put into words what she means to me, except for to say, I trust her implicitly with everything. Carlo Rodriguez has now been my friend for almost 10 years. He is someone with unwavering patience to listen. And I think one of the first people who made us feel like, oh, we're a big deal. And it's something that it's something every filmmaker needs. And I still run every script idea by him, every title by him. Still waiting for some ideas for the renamed podcast, by the way. But it is what his friendship means to me. It's been a constant. We don't always agree, and we will sometimes, we'll butt heads, but that's what happens. And so, really and truly, one of the most important relationships that I've ever had. Shelly has the fact that Shelly Bybee jumped into this as quickly as she did, with no questions asked, as she was basically entering the family, speaks to her. Everybody loves her. Everybody loves having her on set. People more importantly like the rap parties with Shelly. There's usually some booty music and dancing at 3 a.m. And I love to give Nathan a hard time when we have these after action reviews about when a rap party maybe goes a little too far. Because the one time it went too far, I think Shelly was at the center of it, and it was 3 a.m. at the lake house on Going Gorilla, and there was like 90s hip hop blasting in the kitchen, and it was Shelly and Stephanie and a bunch of other people. But, she's my sister. Billy and Elizabeth Kring. I talked about Larry being the most important male influence in my life, and Billy is probably number 2. And Elizabeth is, let's be honest, Elizabeth's crazy. And those of you who've ever been on a film festival with Elizabeth, it's like Shelly at the rap party. It's like Elizabeth at the film festival. She is the one who thinks you haven't drank enough. And she will definitely likes to make people make bad decisions, and then she sort of just mothers them afterwards. But I don't know where I would be with those guys. Billy is been a writing partner, a brother, a father figure, and I think one of the best examples of what kindness and integrity look like in one person. And those two have met the world to me. Now, the one person I've fought the most with on set has been Brendan. And Brendan's been working with us since he was a teenager, and he and I would yell at each other. I think at one point he called his mom and wanted to go back to Milwaukee because we had just butting heads, but it was always over with, and we were back to being as close as we are. I legitimately, of all my blood relatives, he's the one I feel closest to. And I love everything about him. And you want to talk about somebody that can always be in a good mood. He's honestly a person that I think is so beautiful and positive, and I hope that the world will be as good as how he sees it. Chris Copple was the first one. How do I put this without insulting Jessica? He was the first one that really thought I had talent. And he'll never really know until right now what that meant for me, because I was so unsure of what I was doing. I was in this business right out of the military where I was sure of what I was doing. I was good at it. I was successful. And I knew that I wanted to do something in life that felt like it was impactful in some way. And there were a lot of real spur of the moment decisions that pushed me into this. But Chris was really one of the first ones who trusted me. And not working with him after, that first movie that we didn't work together was tough. And I appreciate Emily. It cannot have been an easy situation for Emily. It's like following the coach who just won the Super Bowl. Sports ball, Chris. Sports. But him trusting me and thinking that I was good enough to trust. Jason Tostevin, my boyfriend, my hetero life mate, one of the most impactful male relationships that I have. And I think somebody that reminds me, he's good at reminding me that I'm good, because I don't always think that. And I tried to give him credit for me not quitting after LBG. And I texted him and said, hey, man, I just want to thank you again for not letting me quit. And he's like, you weren't going to quit. I was just talking. And the idea, like, he's so doesn't want the credit, but he deserves some of the credit. He deserves a lot of the credit and a lot of helping me figure out a way to see through this world. And I know that we'll be friends forever. And what I think is beautiful about that friendship, we don't like the same movies. We don't see filmmaking the same way, but we have mutual respect. Isn't that what matters the most? My husband, Cedric. One of the things that's about that, you think about when you're thinking about people you admire in this industry. And I think it goes back to even the Jason example, is you learn more from people that aren't like you. And I don't mean the fact that Cedric and I are not the same demographic, but we're very different filmmakers and we couldn't be the same. And I think it allowed us to be, because we're both, if I'm being honest, we're both seen as some of the best independent filmmakers in this region. He doesn't believe I'm retired. I'm retired. But we're seen as some of the best. Like, we're often held up in that regard. But I don't think that we would be able to be as close as we are if we were doing the same kind of thing. It allowed us to be able to both celebrate the fact that we're both really good at stuff, and then therefore connect at a level where I'd do anything for him and him for me. And, like, again, I love that our stuff is so different because we can celebrate it and egos don't get in the way. And, I think we tied for an award one time once. That was like the best thing that could have happened. Mike Donis, we're 10 years apart in age, but he's always got my back. And even with the film festival, I know he's still going to have my back. That's all I got to say about that. Nathan, this company, first of all, Nathan and I run things pretty differently. And there are times when my way was what was better for the company. And then there were times when his way was what was better for the company. And I think that we both did a really good job of recognizing when that might have been. And, one of the things that I always want to do was go, 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 go. And Nathan's very like, no, we're going to measure this out. And him being able to really support all the creative stuff, but also making sure we had processes and we had things like lawyers and stuff like that to protect us, saved our bacon a bunch. And I think, I think it was one of the best decisions that happened with this company was us asking him, and the most grateful I am for him saying yes.
Felt very strongly he was a great storyteller. He was a great personality that I felt people were really drawn and attracted to, including myself.
When I think about people that trust and jump in with both feet, I think about my wife. And I'd prepared for this, and it's just not coming together. It's like I'd hoped. She's always just been like, yep, let's do it. She proposed to me because we were dating and we knew we wanted to be together, and we were getting ready to go to Germany, and I got orders, and I wasn't going to put pressure on her. I didn't want to like go from 0 to married. We'd been together 9 months at the time. And I think we both knew we wanted to, but that was like down the road kind of deal. So, but she proposed to me. And then this film thing. She is the best person I know. I could not live without her. And I love being in love with her, and I love what our relationship is and what it will be down the next chapter. And I just don't know a lot of people who would have put aside her own fears, because she had them, her own insecurities, because she had them. There were friends of hers that would be like, doesn't it weird you out that Jim's like hanging out with all these young pretty women because he's a director? And it didn't until they said something, I'm sure. But um, I just hope I can be as much of a yes person to her as she is to me. And
I'm extremely proud of all of the projects that we put together. Extremely proud of those 15 features that we've covered in this doc series. Like Jim said, he kind of challenged us all to rank our favorites, which was stupid hard because they all have a special place in my heart. I really feel like, yeah, it's so hard to say what I like better about my number 1 pick versus my number 15 pick. I mean, of course, they span such a different range of time. And so you see the production value change from start to finish. You see those relationships that once we started working with a set of actors or a set of crew members, those very, very special relationships started to grow and blossom. And so just, I don't know, it's hard to put a pin on it, but to say that I'm extremely, extremely, extremely proud of it, incredibly humbled by it. Just the amount of support that we got from so many people that just meant the world to me and to Jim. And it was like the little film company that could. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. It's truly a passion project that got to have a lot of people come on board and be a part of something that I felt was very, very special. So yeah, just to wrap it up, it's been a project that obviously has been a very big part of our lives for many, many years. The friendships that we've built from it, the just relationships that we've strengthened from it. I'm so grateful that we get to continue those relationships and still bring that film family back together every year with the film festival. It's just been incredible, and I'm extremely proud of Jim, and I'm extremely proud of Twitchy Dolphin.
So I guess it brings us back to the last question. Was it worth it? We chased a dream. We didn't always catch it. We didn't always maybe get across the finish line first, or we didn't always, maybe make the right decision or have the right result. We weren't that. There's still going to be people that might stumble on these videos and be like, why the hell did this guy make 18 episodes about movies no one's ever heard of? I mean, in some cases, more people watch the episode than they watch the movie. But I think we chased a dream, and I think we're going to continue to chase dreams in different ways. I think that dream, like I said, we didn't always catch it, but we did it our way. And I think the more and more in this, in the society we're living in, I think that's important. Yeah, I would do it again. I would take the lessons I learned and do it again, but I would, and so, Jessica and I are going to be okay. We are still going to be present. The festival is going to go on for the foreseeable future. Don't see any point where we decided we don't want to do that anymore. I think that's part of what leads to this decision, is that the festival's become a year-round thing for us. We're going to continue to see our grandkids. We are going to, the baseball show's going great. I guess I didn't realize I'd worn this shirt, which sort of seems like a weird transition. I'll wear it for an interview I'm doing later. But, so now we've come to the part of the episode. And I named the last 2 episodes after famous series finales. episode 17 was named after MASH. This one's called My Finale, which is the final episode of Scrubs, because it is. And one of the things that I it's so funny how ego takes over. Like the beginning, I was ego, and I wanted to be this thing that got to do this thing. And then about halfway through, I kind of gave the honor to someone else, and so I'm going to take it back. And so that is a wrap on Twitchy Dolphin. What a ride.